Hello, my beautiful people. I hope you guys are doing well and staying safe. My name is Emmanuel Okafo, and you're welcome to this video brought to you by the Luwizart. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys from A to Z on how to use the Pupa Addon. That means the Pupa Addon is released and you can get your copy. The link will be in the description. You can get it from either Blender Market or Gumroad. You can get your copy there. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you guys how to install the add-on, how to rig with the add-on, how to animate, how to use all the available tools in available tool for Pupa. So let's get started. So once you download the folder, you should get something that says add-on, this zip folder, and then you unzip it, and then you can have this second folder. I know a lot of folders already. We have two add-ons here. So we have the Pupa zip file and the retarget BVH. This is the main add-on. The retargeter is also important for you to install it because it's the engine behind the Pupa add-on. I will explain how that works in a bit. And you also have this readme test. This is just basically reminding you to install the two add-ons to work smoothly with this nice tool. And we also have our customer care, which is available 24 hours of the day. So if you have any little issue, if you're trying to get a particular effect that probably the add-on doesn't give you and you want us to extend it to for you, you can email the Luwizart@yahoo.com, and any help you need, any question, any feature request, because of course there's going to be a version 2 for this add-on. So you can just request it here and we'll be at your beck and call. Okay, so once you've gotten your copy, let's get right to how you can install it. So basically you just you open up Blender, of course, and go to edit, preference, and under you click on add-on, and then you see this install. So you want to click on this. So it's pretty standard installation of add-ons for Blender. I have mine saved in the desktop, so I'm going to click on this folder and we have the two add-ons being displayed. So I'm going to click on the Pupa zip, and it's going to take a while to load in because it's also loading in all the animation data. Okay, so once it's loaded it in, you can click on this checkbox and save your preference. Okay, so let's install the second one. We install, and we're installing the retargeter.bvh. So we install that and check it and save your preference. Okay, so now we have the Pupa add-on enabled, and you can see it here, and this is where all the magic will be taking place. So let's go ahead and import the model we're using for this tutorial. Okay, so this is the character we'll be working with in this tutorial, and she's pretty standard. She have just her body, her clothes, some appendages here, and also the shoe, the hair. So they're all separate separate mesh, and I want to really use this to show you the power of this add-on, that it can even take care of multiple objects all at once, and gives you a lot of tools to work with it. So let's get started. So you can, if you have a pre-existing collection, that doesn't really matter. If you don't have a pre-existing collection, you can just make sure you select all the objects and hit assign object. But before you hit that, just go to objects, apply rotation and scale, just so that Blender can work with the right information, so you don't have any undesired results as you move along. So once you do that, you can hit assign object, and you can see select collection. So we already have a pre-made collection. So like I said, if you don't have a collection, you can just go ahead and just write the name of the new collection you want to create, and it's just going to go ahead and do that for you. So for the next step, you have use finger or not use finger. This basically means that if you, with this check and we hit OK, you can see it creates a UI for us with some points, and it has fingers enabled. So you can also do this. If you uncheck this, do not use finger, and hit OK, you can see a version without the finger. So before I continue, I want to explain the mindset behind this add-on. So as an artist, I do a lot of professional work and personal projects with characters and animation. And animation is not my primary skill, even though I'm basically good at it. That's not my strongest suit. So I tend to use Mixamo animations. If you've noticed in this channel, we get a lot of Mixamo tutorial because I kind of had to learn and master how to use Mixamo for my projects. So that's the main reason for this add-on. I wanted to create an interface that makes all of these possible inside Blender without having to go out of Blender, and even providing more tools that will even make add more power to it, even more than Mixamo itself. So that was the main mindset behind this add-on. Okay, so that's why we kind of expose most of the settings to you guys, so you have full artistic control. We even have a reference outline mesh here so that you can use as a reference to see the right position or the right place you can place each of this point. Okay, so for placing the point, you just need to enable the snapping tool, switch this to volume, and then just select the point based off the reference. You can know where you can place it. We just place it in the right position. So usually this usually takes less than a minute. Just place it. Okay, put this at the back. Get this. This is the breastbone, and if you select it, you can see they are named, so you can actually have like some more preview to know where to place it in case you're confused. So this is the breast controller, so we can just place them here, and you can adjust it, you can scale it, so it doesn't matter. It just works. We can select this one still, rotate it 90 degrees, and place it in the foot area. So want to get like a nice pivot point, and yeah. So at this point we're actually all set. We can go bind, and you want to select the right collection, so you can even select this model, this particular object, and create a new collection and just bind that particular object, so you have freedom to do anything you want. So we have the collection which we want to bind, which is model. So we're going to skip this two for now and just go straight to the bind. So like if you have seen the documentation on Blender Market kind of explaining the project, you can see I said we have two different binding methods. We have the automatic weight and the voxel. So let's see the automatic weight and see the result it can give us. So we choose the automatic weight and just hit OK. Okay, as you can see, it has binded the mesh, and it did a pretty good job with binding the objects, and you can see it's working. But one thing you will notice is that the bind for the hair is not really good. It's quite messy, and it's expected because this is automatic weights, which still need more cleanup and some work. And but you're given this option in case that if you're using like some geometry that the mesh is not really complex, that automatic weight can work with that. So that's when you can use this method. But for this instance, it's not really doing a good job with it. So we can also see some penetrations in the cloth, in this cloth area, and we usually don't want that. Even though we can fix it, probably just want like a very clean and fast workflow. That's where the next algorithm comes into place. So just undo that. Okay, so we go to bind. We're gonna choose the voxel this time, and we have a new parameter. It asks you to there's a parameter for the voxel size. So if you want to get more details which takes longer, you can set this to 0.001. If you want to get less detail and it takes, which is more faster, you can increase it to a higher value. So I'm going to put 0.08 and hit OK. So this is a bit slower than the automatic weight, but it's more efficient in binding the character nicely. So as you can see, we don't have the problem with the hair. It does a better job binding the character we have little or no penetration at all. Okay, so this particular method, which is quite good and reliable, but doesn't work so well with like objects that have fingers, like characters, which is pretty normal, or just objects that have like little details. It takes a lot of time. It's possible, but you have to reduce the value to a very low number, which takes so much time, and definitely it's not very artist friendly. So that's why we created a hybrid of both worlds. So we kind of created a hybrid for the automatic weight and the voxel size. So for you to use that, all you just need to do is we'll select this mesh, this particular object, and click on its selected object. So basically what it does, it just creates a new collection here for you, kind of isolating this particular object. But this object is still part of this model collection, as you can see. But we have like a selection set here, and you can actually go in and add any desired objects into the collection set, or even select multiple objects and add them to the selected object set. Okay, so once you have that, you want to go to bind, and we'll switch this to automatic weight and hit OK. So as you can see, it's just binding. It just binded just the selected object. Okay, so where the hybrid comes in is that now you can select each of the other props, or you could even right click and select objects. So all the other objects, shift select the rig, and then shift select this mesh and do transfer weight, and now it's going to bind everything together. So kind of using the both system to work efficiently. Okay, and this particular tool works for any rig in Blender. So even though you create your own Blender rig, this works great. So I'll just show you a quick example. We have this cylinder. We'll just add some edge loops, and let's add an armature. Okay, and we'll subdivide this a bit. And now if we parent this with Blender's automatic weight, you can see it's deforming as it should. Now we'll add some UV sphere aligned. Okay, so all you just need to do now is select each of these UV sphere, shift select the rig, shift select this mesh, transfer weight, and you have it deforming nicely. So you can also use this tool for any desired project which you might want to do. Okay, so let's before we move on, we need to talk about another feature, which is the previewing of the rig. So let's open another scene where we can use it as an example to preview the rig. Okay, so we already have all the points in place, and we can go to bind before you select anything. So the preview rig gives you the ability to kind of tweak things even further, to tweak things even more, to make sure all the joints are aligned like you like, and just to make sure everything looks good before you go ahead and bind your character. So if you hit bind, you can click on preview rig and hit OK, and then you get this preview rig. Okay, so we cursor to selected, selection to cursor, or you could actually move them manually and place them like you like. And because of this feature, you're able to rig asymmetrical characters. So if you turn off the symmetry function that I think you can access under the tools, so symmetry, you can turn this on and off. If this is on, if you move one of these, it moves the other. If this is turned off, you can adjust them individually. Okay, so let's do this again. Cursor to selected, selected to cursor, just to make sure everything looks good. You check all the joints to make sure they're placed in the right position that you want. Okay, so once you're happy, you can go ahead and bind it, but you have to make sure you select the meta rig, uncheck preview meta rig, and automatic weight. and you can see it's going to bind the rig, and we have a more predictable bind. So this also works for the selected object. You can click on selected object, it creates a new collection for you, or you could even create the collection yourself. And now you can select the meta rig bind, and the collection is going to be detected automatically to be selected object, and you can hit OK, and it binds it. As you can see, it's not going to bind any other objects that is not necessary. So you could even you could switch this on the fly to the other collection and hit OK. And yeah, so this is how you bind characters. So you have a lot of tools to make this possible. So next, let's go into the animation feature. So for the animating, since we want to have like animation preset, we for the animation you have a lot of animation presets to experiment and play with, and they are kind of organized in categories like adventure, combat. So if you click on adventure, you can see you have hundreds of animation that you could choose from. If you choose from miscellaneous, you have different animations you could choose from. Locomotions, which encompass walking, running, jumping, and everything. You have several categories you could choose from. And the great thing is you could also search for them individually, or just search for different names, and you should get what you're looking for. So, and now we can just go to one category, and let's just apply one animation. So you can just select your rig and apply the animation, and it just works. Okay, and you can easily switch between them. Okay, so it's very artist friendly and very intuitive to work for any scale of your projects, because like it can work even for multiple objects at the same time in the scene. So if we duplicate this several times, we can apply separate animation to each of them. We select this and apply a different animation. So this allows you to work with multiple characters on the same scene. And you could create your you can create anything you want. It can work great for production, it can work great for games. Okay, so this is just scratching the surface of what this can do. So let's just go ahead and delete all of this. Okay, so for the next showcase, um, right now you can see we can add animation. We also have a feature that allows you to add multiple animations onto the same characters. So if you click on add animation and click on apply animation, it will add multiple animation on the same character, and you can just keep adding as much as you need. Okay, so but you can notice like for stuff like a run cycle, this is not very intuitive because it's always go back to the first frame, to the first position, and kind of reset. So that's why we have a tool called stay in place. So if you click on this tool and apply animation, it's just going to run in a position in a point, and it's not going to move forward. You can apply more animations to create a run cycle, and it just loops perfectly. Okay, so what you can do with this, you can just select the roots bone, insert keyframe in the first frame, and you can move this forward in your scene. And it's also advisable to switch this to a linear interpolation, and you just play it and she moves. You can adjust the speed by moving the keyframe to make it move slower or faster. Okay, so that's that feature. Another feature that we offer is animation layers. So we worked with professional animation animators to kind of test this in their personal projects and their professional work, and they requested for some of these features so that we can make sure we kind of provide the best service for you guys. So if you click on new layer, what this allows you to do is to create an animation on top of the pre-existing animation. So we can get one of these points and just adjust a hand. Let's say the user wants her to be like a zombie. Okay, so we can add that, and you can see now she's going to become a zombie now. And you can animate across the frames. Let's get her head turning left and right. Okay, so your imagination is your limitation. So anything you want to achieve with this, you can go ahead and do that. So next you have the baking feature. So especially if you want to export this to Blender, or if you want to create a new animation layer on top of the animation layer, the best way to go about it is to bake it. So if we go ahead and bake this right now, you can see we only bake to a certain point. That's because we're also giving you the ability to kind of control the amount of frames you want to bake. So if your keyframe ends here, that's the amount of frame we'll bake. But if you want it to bake up to the last frame, you just insert keyframe for any object in the last frame, and the add-on will make sure that it bakes onto up to the extent, as you can see now. Okay, and you can actually go back and new layer and kind of animate on top of that. Okay, so now before we move on to the next animation feature, which kind of makes it even very powerful, let's talk about the weight painting utility. So what the weight painting utility does is, if you select your rig and click on the weight paint, it brings out the right bones that allows you to weight paint your character. So you can select this, shift select the character and go into your weight painting mode. So one way you could do that is select rig and weight paint. So it allows you to clean up or add more influence or reduce influence as needed. Okay, and once you're done with that, you can select the rig, weight paint, uncheck that, and the rig is back to normal. Okay, and now we can talk about the enable IK and enable FK feature. So this is another feature that pushes the animation to a new level, because it allows you to animate a simple add the preset animation on top of your animation. So for me to showcase that, we're going to make a very quick animation. So we want this lady to check her watch. Okay, she should be standing in a very neutral position. Then she checks her watch and then looks forward. And then after she maybe realizes she sees something, then she can walk for a bit and then she starts running. So let's create that. So if we move this, you can notice that the IK is not controlling it. Um, it's not advisable to use this for this particular switching. So you can go to the tool, click on you click on FK. Sorry. For this, where's that button? Okay. So for this, you just adjust this value that says IK to FK. So this very first value, so that's what you move, and we can repeat it for this. This still allows the animator to animate things at different points, because if we had automated it like we can do here, it's going to take away a lot of control for the animator. So we still kept some of the power around this rigify level, so that the user can use it as expected. So you can animate one hand as IK and animate one hand as FK. So I'm going to switch this to an IK2. I'm going to do the same thing for the leg. Okay, and now we can start animating. So we can start with just placing this. We'll place the character in a neutral position. Okay, so we'll place the character in a neutral position and insert keyframe there. So we go forward, so she checks her time. So for that, we'll bring up her hands to kind of check the time. So you could adjust the shoulder by rotating this bone, or you could also go in and turn on the pole target. This is just basic Rigify stuff, so you can do that. It also works. So she checks her watch. Okay, and then something got her attention, and then she looked forward. At this point, we'll start adjusting his hand, and then finally she goes back to a neutral position and then walks off. Just inserting keyframe for everything. Okay, so this is what we have. She checks her watch and then goes back to the neutral position. I mean, it's not Disney level, but it's fine. um, okay, so at this point, we want to use our preset animation to add the walking. So we'll just search for walk. And let's get just a generic walk and apply it. So as you can see, I have the animation, I have the add animation checked, and I have the stay in place checked. But for this instance, I don't want that to be checked, so I'm going to uncheck the stay in place so that you can just move forward. Okay, and we can see she start working, and the timeline automatically adjusts to the frame, so that's fine. But now if we play this, you can see that the hands are not following along. That's because we kind of switched on FK rig. So that's basically the functionality of this icon FK, to kind of help you speed up stuff, especially in a process like this. So here we can insert keyframe, and this insert keyframe, what it does for you is it insert keyframe for all the parameter in the Rigify that you might need to insert keyframe for you to do the switch. And we can go here and uncheck enable IK FK. I will enable the IK this time, and by default the rig snaps to it. So if we have it here, let's say here, and enable IK, so you can hit refresh and it's going to refresh, and then you can insert keyframe. So enable that again. Sorry. So you have to click on it so you'll see this stuff. So usually just double click it and it displays, and you insert the keyframe. So now we have the first animation which we created, and then it transitions into the next one. And you can always go here, okay, and adjust the timeline as needed to kind of create a nice blending between the two. So you can adjust them as needed, and then you can just play the animation, maybe here. Enable the FK at this point and just adjust this a little. Or a quick way is to FK, yeah, FK to IK, FK to IK, and inside keyframe, so use transitions. So that's one way. That's how you can kind of combine them. So let's go ahead and add the run. So at this point, even without placing your timeline cursor anywhere, it will recognize it easily. So we can look for run and add animation. So since we want the animation to continue, we want the animation to continue from this spot. We cannot click on stay. We cannot just continue the animation. So we want to do stay in place. So we'll add the animation.